Hello, everybody. You're very welcome back to Leeds Bros. Hope everybody is keeping and doing well. You're very welcome along to Friday night's podcast. It's a pleasure to say we're joined for the first time, Darragh from LeedsThat. Darragh, how are you, buddy? Thanks for popping in.
I'm very good, Darren, and thanks to yourself and Dillo for inviting me tonight. Really appreciate it.
No, it's a pleasure having you on, buddy. It's been a while coming. We talked about it in Leeds a while ago about getting you on, and it's obviously just been a manic period for you. You're obviously just saying that they're moving house and all that as well. But eventually we got it scheduled and we have you on now.
Yeah, I had to say it to Rocco and James today on the WhatsApp. Listen, lads, I got on to Only Leeds Bros. I know I didn't make our podcast this week, but I'll do the lads because I'm a bit more settled in the house now.
That's it. So it's an all-Irish affair tonight. We'll try and slow it down sometimes. Irish amongst Irish, we get ourselves carried away, don't we, and speed up a little bit. So if we are talking a little bit fast, let us know in the chat. We'll try and slow it down a little bit more. And Dillo, how are you? Happy Friday.
Yeah, that's it there. I love it. I love these Friday nights, lads. You know, it's just great, isn't it? You know, and believe it or not, I was actually off work today, but other than that, it's the weekend, and like, it's great. It's great. And Leeds are back tomorrow, which is another positive. Hopefully we get the 3 points, but hopefully after this I'll have a few points.
You know what else, lads? Just remind you though how far we've all fallen since we've had kids. That, you know, Friday night, sitting in, working, doing a bit. It used to be something very different 20 years ago, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, well, no, yeah. Friday night you were out and all, be out on the Raz and all at 8 o'clock now. Sitting here doing Leeds podcast now.
Look, when you look at it like this, if you were in the pub either way, you still be talking about football or chatting some sort of nonsense, you know. At least you're doing it in your own comfort of your home, isn't it? But the only thing is, well, you're not too bad there and you have a full bar there on top. But for 7 me and Darragh, you know, it's get the missus to get out to the shop there and get a few cans, you know. So.
We should have done this in person then. We'll organise that for the next one, Darragh. What do you think?
Yeah, you're housewarming there.
Sounds like a good bit. Life of the Camden.
Baby Camden, that's what it is. But we'll get into it anyway, Darragh. Obviously, been a bit of a whirlwind transfer window for Leeds United. We're not going to talk too much about that. We're going to talk more so about the start of the season, the players that have stood out for you, Daniel Farke, the Brendan Aronson situation, Harry Grace. We've loads to get into, guys, so make sure you're dropping a like on the video and, of course, hitting subscribe to the channel. But, Darragh, we'll get into it. So, Leeds United start to the season, 1 win, 2 losses, 1 draw. What have you made of
it? Very happy. Very happy, and I know that's gonna shock a lot of people.
This is why I wanted to get you on, because I know you're a positive Leeds fan. I wouldn't say you're a happy clapper, but you're positive with reasons to be positive.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, for anyone who doesn't know me, my background is sports management. I've been 25 years in sports management. I lecture in UCD in sports management, so I kind of have various principles that I stick to, which is why, like, you know, if you're doing reaction videos, I'm no use for them because I keep a very level head. And I suppose it comes back to your expectations. If you want to have a look at where we are at the start of the season, the only thing I wanted at the start of the season was for us to be competitive, to not be getting hammered every week, for teams not to be able to just play through us like they did in the latter days of Bielsa and then all the way through to the relegation. And no shade on Bielsa there, by the way. He would have kept us up as best manager in the history of the world. But by the time he moved on, teams were playing through us, and I just didn't want to repeat it. I wanted us to be competitive. And I think 4 games in, we're extremely competitive. Now, we have problems at the other end of the pitch. We all recognise that. But we've built a really solid side. We're strong at the back. We're 30 seconds, 60 seconds away from having a 3rd clean sheet out in 4 games. That's incredible for a newly promoted side. And then the midfield looks absolutely, excuse the pun, stacked with talent. So the midfield is super competitive. We're dominating games during periods, which is not something that new teams coming up from the championship do. So I'm genuinely very happy because my expectations were, let's just be competitive. We're 4 games in, we're doing that. We've 32 games to go to fix the other issues. Yeah. Well, after 4 games, do I like what I'm seeing? Yeah. And again, it's not about taking one game in isolation. We can all be annoyed when if a goal goes against us or a result goes against us. But what were you expecting 3 months ago? Don't forget about that. That's the main thing for me. And 3 months ago, as you said to me, 2 clean sheets, a jammy loss against Fulham, or you take a hiding against Arsenal. Will you take it? So yeah, I'll absolutely take that.
Just on that there, you know, since you're mentioning about the expectations, I agree with you. I do. I think the reason why I got heated at times, look, I intend to do that. It's just in me. I can't change it. I just see red and I just go for it. But I think it was the expectations of the transfer window. Now, look, don't get me wrong, there's good players that we got there. Still 10 signings in the door, which is brilliant to see, considering the past of what Leeds have brought in and the quality that they brought in. But I mean, you know, me and Darren have talked about it before, and I think it was just for me, we were told we were getting the star number 9 of a striker, you could say, and we didn't get that. Obviously, PSR, they came out saying that it was PSR reasons of why they didn't, but just, I'm giving you my opinion, that's why I've kind of lashed out. But I've taken the time to think about it and analyse it from a different perspective, similar to what you've just said there. And BMG be happy with that. To be fair, I would say I'm not too happy, but I'm not too mad either, considering how the season has gone so far.
Well, I think the thing is, as well, Dylan, you're a fan, so don't be hard on yourself for being passionate. I get annoyed.
That's why the caption is hope versus concern, because I kind of know you there from speaking to you a couple of times that, as I said, like you're a more of kind of positive Leeds fan. You kind of look at it, kind of glass half full rather than glass half empty. And Dylan's definitely the concerned side of things, 100%. And I definitely somewhere kind of in the middle. So it's always good to, like you said, to be a fan and kind of put your concerns across and your hopes as well, because ultimately that's what it is being a football fan, isn't it? The highs and lows, and sometimes we can let ourselves get a little bit too low as Leeds fans, you know what I mean? And we can be kind of the worst of ourselves, can't we? And then there's other times we let ourselves get too high. But I think Fark probably hit it on the head in his press conference yesterday. It was a bit of a weird press conference. Parts of it was very good. I thought he handled the questions very well, but the parts were a little bit crazy. But he said it himself as well at that game against Fulham, and you mentioned it there, 30 seconds away from getting a point down there, possibly even if he had went on to kind of win the game. And he said people could be talking about Europe if Leeds win that game, but that's it. It's the fine margins, isn't it, in football?
Yeah, absolutely. And to go back on what Dylan was saying there, like there's genuine criticisms there to be had. Like the transfer window didn't go to plan, and that news that came out about your man Spiritsan, was it yesterday? I think that came out. And sure, look, if you're an Irish guy, you watched that Armenia match. He was man of the match. He absolutely ran the show. And how they handled that was a complete mess. I mean, I believe they went in from 90 minutes to go, and it just wasn't enough time to get the deal across. That doesn't look good on anybody. Yeah. So there's genuine criticisms we have there. And I suppose when it goes back to you were saying about me being a positive Leeds fan, I think it goes in cycles, to be honest, because when things were falling apart under Radrazani and Orta was signing every plonker under the sun, and I'll use that word lightly, you know, like I ended up going on to LeedsThat. My debut on LeedsThat was critiquing Victor Orta, and I absolutely smashed him for an hour. People were saying, like, I just love to see that. I just love to see Orta just getting absolutely pillared for an hour. So there's nothing positive about that.
Yeah.
But I think the 49ers, for the most part, have done a really good job in terms of getting us where we are in the league, and then having a very good start and a very good strategy for the window. I do think it's hard to say that, like, a lack of experience, because we don't know what went on behind the scenes. Yeah. It would appear from the outside that if you're going in at 90 minutes to go for Spiritsan and there isn't the time, and you're flip-flopping to Harry Wilson, and you're spending 2 weeks getting knocked up by Poishow only for him to turn you down. You know, I think there's definitely an element of that there that looks like it's open to criticism, and perhaps that criticism could be a lack of experience. But for the most part, I think, you know, they've done a very good job in terms of getting Daniel Farke the tools he's needed to get us out of the Championship, and then putting a strategy in place to get us solid in the Premier League. And I still do think we're going to stay up. I still think there's enough there. Like we all understand the concerns of scoring goals. And I actually watched you guys against after Fulham, and you were spot on. You know, it doesn't look like goals are coming from anywhere. Yeah. But if I could counter that point, I would say that all the best managers and all the best teams have always built from the back. You know, even, you know, you look at Mourinho, you look at even Pep. Any manager comes into a new club and they want to start building a legacy, building something long term. It's always start with clean sheets, be solid, be hard to beat, and then add your flair on top of that. Now, look, we don't have an option to add flair until January, and they've already said they don't want to do that. But I think from a stylistic perspective, from a game formatting perspective, we have the basics down, and now we need to kind of kick on a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly summed up there. I think everything that you said, and I think when I look at this transfer window, it was very much like the transfer window last year. They left it kind of very late last year, and obviously we got Solomon at the end. And I always remember a post, and kind of the rhetoric that came out after we got Solomon's. See, this is what happens when you wait, and the best deals they will come out. And I think they kind of played that long game as well. And I think there was an idea and a structure in place to kind of build from the back, go through the back line through your midfield, and they thought then that, them more kind of attacking options closer towards the end of the window would open up, because we hear the whole way through, didn't we, from local journalists? They were saying that they were still hopeful of Muniz happening, even though it was, 35 million that was torn down by Fulham, and Atalanta was in there as well for him. So, as you said, there's definitely maybe a little bit of lack of experience kind of Premier League wise. I think obviously being in the Championship is different. You're a big fish in a small pond. Everyone's kind of going to want to come to Leeds in the Championship. In the Premier League, it's a different story. That kind of pond, the players that were fishing in, the likes of your Peugeot, look at goals playing for Marseille the other night in the Bernabeu. So it's a fine line, isn't it, Darragh, when you're playing that game? And ultimately this time it's slapped us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I was really disappointed last day to transfer season, because I believed in the 49ers to the extent that I can still say, look, yeah, they did a good job, but they definitely let us down on transfer deadline day.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't have even got to transfer.
Shouldn't have got to that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of planning, and that was my big criticism of Victor Orta.
Yeah.
And I think anyone who criticises them for not getting players in on the last day is 100% right. The strategy was there. Yeah. The strategy was there from the start, build from the back, and then add in the quality. And they came out and said, as you mentioned, and it was really good point there on Manor Solomon. Like they rammed that down our throats and went, "See, guys, be calm. We got this. We understand how the transfer window works." And then Parag tried to play that same card a few days before the transfer window ended, live on Sky, and said that it'll be a lot of business happens at the end of the window, and then he did no business. No first team business. We got James Justin in, but yeah, that was a letdown. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd rather be straight. Sorry there.
Yeah, would you rather be you would rather than be straight up about it? Probably what irks me a little bit more, Darragh, than anything else. Obviously, look, we didn't get the creative player that we wanted. And the PSR thing was obviously brought out then by Evans as well. Obviously, saying that we were on the brink of PSR, and then you look at it, then it doesn't really make sense. Then if you're bringing in a backup, fullback in James Justin, and then also then with Okafor as well, dropping 18 million on him, or 5 million on Borneo, you think that part of it would have been planned a little bit more, that they should have known their key of what they have there, what they have to play around with it. So it's a bit naive dropping 10 million on a backup fullback, isn't it? Like if they were on the brink of PSR, so I'm not too sure I believe that one.
Well, the funny thing is that those type of ones they end up taking the taste test, don't they? Because if one of our fullbacks gets injured and it falls back onto Boyram, then you go, actually, it was a shrewd move. Yeah. So as across the season, they'll be either proven right or wrong in that. And if we slip into the relegation places because of a lack of goals, that's going to look very bad. However, I do think the strategy was to be very solid from the back. So from that perspective, from a strategic perspective, I've been the CEO of a national sporting organization, so like you've got to manage your risk. And from a professional sports perspective, if your priority is no goals, don't concede any goals, then you have to ensure that, because there's no point in bringing in Jakob Bial and Gabby Goodmanson if you end up with an under 17 playing right back and the whole defence falls apart. So there has to be that strategic element to it, that to back up that investment, you have to also have good backup for the players that you don't have to invest in, the Bogles and the Rodons and the Strokes. Yeah. So I think only time will tell on that one. But then again, you look at Okafor, and I thought he looked decent against Fulham. Didn't exactly set the world alight, but I thought he looked good. I actually think he could look half decent centrally from what I saw. Some nice turns. And when he drove infield, he looked even better than when he was out in the wing. So
I think I agree with you there. I found it strange because I thought after Fulham, I was saying with Dylan during our watch along, is I think we need to get the ball to Okafor a little bit more. And like you said, he didn't exactly set the world alight, but he looked like the one that would have the sprinkle, trying to create a little bit more. And then after the game, then obviously you go on social media, and it's something that I probably have to stop doing. You go online, then there's people ridiculing him, saying, "What did we spend 80 million on him for? He's not good enough." And everyone's saying he had a terrible game. I'm like, I don't know what game everyone was watching, because like that, I thought he was half decent, not sensational. sensational, but he was a big improvement what he was against Sheffield Wednesday, what you would expect. But yeah, no, I think you're spot on with all that there. Leeds Lens has a good one here as well, and I probably think this adds to it as well, is that he did expect some outgoings, and I think us as fans probably expected a few more outgoings, probably with money coming in, and it didn't really materialise. I think 12, 13 players left the football club in the summer, and we only brought in 8 to 10 million. Not good enough, is it?
Oh, you didn't hear me rant about that on the last podcast. So we get into the PSR situation. I put on my financial hat, and I was like, right, if I'm the CEO of Leeds United and I'm saying we're going to max out our PSR, then it's not just about the money you're spending; it's about the money you're bringing in as well. And we look at the likes of Gelhardt, who went on a free as a loan, JB, who looks like he went on a free, and then the two big ones where we turned down fees for sellable assets, which were Joseph and Ramazani. Now, I still think we get both of them back at a higher price, and you win the long game. Yeah. But if they're saying they max themselves out on PSR, then there's 20 million quid there waiting to happen on players that are not going to play this season, because Joseph isn't going to play for Leeds this season. He's not going to contribute, and either is Ramazani. So if you wanted to bring in 20 million quid, you could have brought them in. There's also Vuber and Schmidt who went out. So between those kind of 6-7 players, there was about 30 million you could have brought into the club, which you could have then spent on a striker or a winger or a creative force in some way. And they chose not to do that. So I'm not sure if they were expecting the sales, because they had the opportunity and they could have said, you're not going on loan, it's a sale or nothing. And they would have got some money in for those players. And that, for me, it was a bit annoying then when they then turned around and said, that they maxed out their PSR. No, you chose to only have that amount of money because you didn't want to sell sellable assets.
Yeah, I think I agree as well. And Melier was involved in that one as well. There, we heard this from Evans as well, that they felt that his future was better here at Leeds United. I think there was a bid made 5 or 6 million, and they said that didn't meet his valuation, when ultimately he's going to be third choice goalkeeper now. No, look at Perry is injured now, but he's still, on the bench is still a third choice goalkeeper with Darragh with a good performance against Fulham. So again, that one doesn't make sense. If you're on the brink of PSR, why not sell it and have that extra, 5-6 million in your back pocket, so you can go out on deadline day and pay that little bit extra for a Harry Wilson and get your attacking player.
Yeah, no, 100%, as Dilla would say. But actually, speaking of what Dilla would say, Dilla, I totally agree with you on Carl Darragh. He's got every chance to stay in that team.
I think he's phenomenal.
It was literally, it is on the hit list as well, because I'm interested. Going to get everyone's kind of take on it. But for me, he's outshowing Perry as well from the games. Perry hasn't been bad. His kicking just scares the living daylights out. We'll talk about the goal.
Look, he hasn't been for Perry. He hasn't been given enough time. It takes time, obviously. With Darragh being experience behind him in the Premier League, and just every time that he's in, lads, I just don't feel nervous when he's in there. Considering what we've seen with Melier.
It's a cup game.
Look, cup games don't work for us either way. So, but we know what Melier is like, and I think every fan here that's watching this, or Leeds fan, or just football fan in general, that know about Melier. The time where Leeds is finished, it's unfortunate, because I think his ceiling could be so high if he had went in the right direction. Yeah, it's harsh. He bottled it, and that's the end of it. We got Lucas Perry coming in, and as Darren said, when we seen him in the Aviva, I think within the first 5 minutes, Darren called it straight away. His kicking was a bit ropey, so I kept an eye on that, and then I had to agree. And look, he's not a bad keeper. He's a good shot stopper. He does the basics. I think that's all we want from a goalkeeper, is do the basics. Come and catch the ball when it needs to be caught, and clear your lines when it needs to be cleared. It's not. I'm not saying it's an easy job, but it's not rocket science. Just do the basics. But Darrell's just been steady, lads. Yeah. Just for me, I have to be honest with you.
And I think if he has another good game tomorrow against Wolves, and ultimately if we get the win, like, there's a show for him to, like what you said, Darragh, to keep his spot, isn't it? And Farke is normally like that. Like, he does have his favourites, but he normally doesn't like to change a winning team as well. So ultimately, if we win against Wolves, you would expect him then to be in the following week against Bournemouth, and again another performance. So Perry could have a fight in his hands getting back in.
Yeah, well, he should. Should. Players should play on merit. That's the way it should always be at any club. To roll back on the Melier situation just very briefly before I go back to Darragh. Melier, this nonsense that it was a shrewd move to then keep him because he ended up being third choice and on the bench in a week. That's a lot of crap. Yeah. Like, everyone has a third choice keeper. Ours is Alex Kearns. He's fine. He could have sat on the bench against Fulham, and he could sit in the bench against Wolves. And if he absolutely had to come on, the worst came on, I think I'd be okay with that. You know,
Yeah.
so they should have got rid of Meslier. They should have tried to bring in some finance on the PSR side. But on Darragh, yeah, I'd say, look, he's a weird one, right? Because every time we see him in the cup, like Leeds, he can't perform, and then he's rock solid in league games, and he's absolutely brilliant. And if players are playing well, then they should keep their spot, because that sends a message to the rest of the squad as well. And it's principles of management. Now, it doesn't always apply to the goalkeeper as the one. Usually there's a standout number one, they miss a game, someone comes in. It doesn't matter how well they play, a keeper comes back in. But I don't think that's the case with Perry. And I do like Perry, to be fair. I think he hasn't had as much to do, obviously, as that Fulham game. Like, Darragh had an opportunity to shine in that game that probably Perry hasn't had.
Yeah.
Arsenal. But they would get that, probably a bit harsh on that one.
Mm.
But I do think there's a principle to management. And if you're playing well and you have the shirt, then it's up to the other person to try and take it off you. And at the moment, through luck or by crook, Perry's out, Darlow's in, and he was sensational.
Yeah, I think we agree. And probably touching on that as well, is that Darragh will have a bit of credit in the bank towards the tail end of last season as well, lads, wouldn't he? Where obviously coming in for Meslier and the mistakes, he was rock solid. And I think Darragh is very much overlooked in that regard, because he really shored things up the back for me. The back line looked a lot solid in them games when he did come in as well. So I do think he was a big part in, in kind of regaining that confidence in towards the tail end of last season. So do you think he'll have a little bit of credit in the bank as well with Daniel Farke, where, like what you mentioned there, with Perry, he hasn't got that opportunity to have that credit in the bank yet?
Yeah, look, I think Perry's done nothing wrong either. Arsenal wasn't great, but Arsenal wasn't great for anyone. Yeah. So, if Farke brings him back in, I wouldn't have any complaints about it. But I think there has to be a serious chat about Darragh, in that when he comes in league games, he was very good towards the end of last season. Obviously shit the bed against Sheffield Wednesday with that horrendous mistake, but then he came back in against Fulham and was probably my man of the match, to be honest. So I don't think Perry should just walk back in. But if he does, I wouldn't have any complaints about it. He's played at a high level. He's a good keeper. You're right about his kicking. God, it's really bad. I don't think I've ever seen anyone
scares the life out of me.
That's where I was going to go back to. It was, the time in the Camden there, where Jermaine Beckford and Tony DeRigo were there. I think someone in the crowd did ask about Meslier, the situation with Meslier just before the I think transfer window was just open. And he basically said, look, I'm not going to basically talk about Mez in a negative way. What he will say, though, is how many games that he had played before. And then Darragh did come in. Darragh showed some character, showed some sort of, right, I'll take the reins now sort of narrative. And now we've got Perry. And obviously now Perry's injured. And I agree, he hasn't done anything wrong. His kicking is atrocious, but hopefully we can work on that. But now Darlow's done it again. So what does it need to take? I know he needs to keep playing well, but what does it need to take for this guy to become a regular starter for Leeds? Is what I'm trying to say. If he's done so well from last season to now, up until now, I think he should be given the opportunity, if he obviously is still putting in some sort of performance.
I tell you what, though, lads, it'd be a hell of a kick in the nads, wouldn't it, if we had a 16 million quid goalkeeper on the bench? you'd be looking at your front line going, oh no.
Oh no. That's the annoying thing for me. Why did you just do that, lads? Now I know.
We could arguably have the most expensive bench in the Premier League at the end of the year, with James just on the bench as well, 10 million. Yeah, be all sitting on the bench, yeah. But it would be typical Leeds. Look, your podcast there at Leeds, that isn't it, the typical way. We'll move on then a little bit and we'll talk about Daniel Farke there, because there has been a little bit about Daniel Farke and, his handling of things. Now, ultimately, I'm kind of split down the middle, because obviously the 14 owners didn't give him the tools to do the job as per se, but he's coming under a little bit of fire for his team selection, especially against Fulham, putting Brendan Aronson now on the right-hand side. There's a couple of murmurs. You do see it online, and look, at social media is no way to go, but there is people, thinking that Farke could be out of a job very soon. It's a bit mad talk, isn't it, this early in the season?
It's absolute insanity. 192 points over 2 seasons, then a win, a loss, a win, 2 losses and a draw in the Premier League with a squad that everyone admits hasn't been fully fleshed out. Yeah. Like, how can anyone put that on the table and tell me that that's a fair criticism of the man? Now, look, go back to the Aronson one as a team selection. I am probably Aronson's biggest critic. Right? I know everyone put it. No, you're not. We are. Aronson, for me, shouldn't be a professional footballer. He's a I don't know, an energizer. What's a sport where you just run around like a headless chicken and just?
I said this. I said
like
this to Darragh.
Cross country, or
just put him in the Olympics and just give him anything, just something that he has to run in.
Yeah, something along those lines. He's not a footballer because he can't do anything on the ball.
I don't know what currency that is. Sorry, Darragh. No, what's
I saying to
Darragh?
myself, oh, we're going away on holidays, Darren.
Really there, lads.
Thanks very much for your super chat, BMG. I have no
lads.
idea what that equivalates to, but yeah, thanks very much. Good,
Thanks very much.
Thanks very
Legend.
much. Sorry, Darragh. Sorry for interrupting you.
No, that was well worth it. Yeah.
Sorry,
brilliant. You guys might be moving house soon as well. No, on the Aronson one, I totally got it. And I even said before the game, actually, I get it, because their left side was really, really strong. And I figured the brief for Aronson wasn't about attacking in that game.
Yeah.
His brief was be strong defensively, back up Bogle, and make sure nothing comes down our right side. The brief against Fulham wasn't go out and win the game. It was go out and draw the game and see if he can nick a win. And it nearly worked. It very, very nearly worked. So even as a guy who cannot stand Aronson, not a personal level, nothing against the guy, as a footballer, I cannot stand him as a footballer because I think quality-wise he's no better than a Sunday League player. But obviously tactically and discipline-wise he's sensational, because he is a really incredible worker. He leads the press really well. He wins duels extremely well. So off the ball is definitely merit to him. And that's exactly why he was brought in against Fulham. So I can't even understand that as a criticism, because even though, as I mentioned, I'm not for the guy, I have no issue with him being chosen against Fulham, because our left side is extremely strong. And if Kevin had started that game, you would have really needed Aronson, because that Kevin tore us apart when he came on. I think it's no coincidence that Aronson wasn't on when he came on.
Yeah, I think Kevin's a very good player, and we hear from Daniel Farke's post-match after that as well, when he said that we couldn't afford him, so gave us a little indication that Leeds were looking around Kevin as well, and what a player he would have been to get someone like him of his quality. Would have been
reality, innit?
Well, what do you think Farke has to deal with out there? Because obviously, look at we have the cards that we've been dealt. We can't do anything about it until January. And again, like what you said, they've even said that we mightn't even dip into the January market. But where can you see Leeds United? What do Leeds United need to do to try and start scoring goals? What's the standout thing that you think has been missing?
Well, I think there's nothing Farke can do from a PR perspective. I said it after the Luton game, when it was we obviously drew 1-1 and everyone was in a panic, right? And I actually said that I felt that Farke was a dead man walking, that even if we went up, there was a chance that he could still lose his job. And I'm actually a big Daniel Farke fan.
Yeah.
And ironically, when everyone was doing a gloom after that Luton game, I said we're going to win every game for the rest of the season. And people and the lads on the podcast laughed, and we did. That's how positive I was, because I was seeing good performances. But that's back to the point. What's he have to do from a fan's perspective? I don't think there's anything he can do. Fans either like him or they don't. They've made their decisions at this point, and they're not for changing. What can he do tactically? It's quite simple. You can just push more people forward. It's as simple as that. You can tell people to bomb forward, get in the box, but he's not going to do that, because I don't think his raison d'etre and his strategy for this season is to win games 6 and 7-0 and to dominate possession. I think he has made a strategic approach for the season to try and win 1-0, 2-1, 2-0, and nick goals here and there. I think there's ways we can improve, and the set piece coach coming in will hopefully be a big part of that. But in terms of from a tactics perspective, like it's not about like maybe pushing the 10 up a little bit more. That make a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But effectively, you can just tell your whole team to bomb forward, and you will score more goals, but you leak more at the back. And I think his main concern at the moment is being solid at the back.
Yeah.
And like I said, like again, other than the weirdest goal you've ever seen in your life last weekend, it could have been 3 clean sheets, 2 draws, 1 win, one loss in the Premier League in your first 4 games in a squad that, as I said, is incomplete. Mm-hmm. Like, we're on track to stay up here.
And when you look at the opposition there as well, Darragh, Everton, Newcastle, and Arsenal in them as well, like it wouldn't be a bad return. But that's what we were kind of saying, is that football is fine lines. Because even if you had to get out of Fulham, with a draw down to London, we know the London hoodoo for Leeds United. Every time we're going anywhere near London, I hate it. But like you said, it was literally just a bounce of a ball, ahead of a ball into the back of the net, and we could have been coming out there, a lot happier. And then no one's really talking about this side of the game now.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. And I even throw Fulham into that. Like, we've played pretty much teams in the top half. I think a big test now is going to be Wolves tomorrow. That's going to be a real test, because they're clearly the worst team in the Premier League. We have an opportunity to pull 7 points away and put a gap in there. I think it's must win for them. I don't think it's must win for us, but I think it will be our most obvious match for what our state of play really is. You know, can we?
Yeah. I think with the run of games coming up as well, Darragh, is especially this month. Darren did say in the last video, going into it kind of this month itself, you would say these are the easiest run of fixtures before we get into the big ones. With the top 6, you could say, or the middle half of the table sort of teams that they're thereabouts. But I can just see it already. If Leeds lose tomorrow, it's just going to be a pure meltdown straight off the bat, on social media or something. But it's definitely, I agree with you. It's not like, I think a draw. Look, we need to go out and win. We need to start putting wins on the board. But I mean, I take a draw. I've been saying it really every game. Just give us a draw. Keep the points ticking over. Just to kind of get the camaraderie and confidence back in the team a little bit, because they all seem a bit down in the dumps, especially with Gabby now at the scoring a cracking of an own goal. So yeah, that's where I am with that.
I think we agree.
Sorry, go ahead, Darragh. No, you go ahead, Darragh.
I think tomorrow's a massive opportunity, and I don't think it gets, on paper wise, when you're seeing Wolves losing 4-4, you look at that and say, right, this is a real opportunity for Leeds. You're going to the bottom of the table, and look what you said, Darragh. We need to be winning against these teams that ultimately are going to be in and around us, for the rest of the season and fighting relegation. So I think it's massive going there tomorrow to try and get the win. And look, like Dylan said, I'm kind of both sides when this way, kind of sitting in the middle of you two, is that, if we do lose it, you can imagine the meltdown on the fan base. So I just won't be going anywhere near social media tomorrow if that does happen. But again, I'll probably get kicked back for this as well. Look, I think even if you go to Molineux and get a draw, I don't think that's the end of the world either, because I think that's where we're at the minute with this Leeds United side, is that any away game, if we can go and pick up a point anywhere we go, we Bournemouth then the weekend, and you can try and win that game again. It's not going to be an easy one as well, but I would never turn my nose up to a point away from home in the Premier League, regardless of the opposition. And that's probably a mad way thinking, because everyone wants to win football matches. But look, what would your thoughts be on that one, Darragh? Would a point be okay with you?
Yeah, no, we're all perfectly aligned on this one, lads. And it probably goes back to that performance against Fulham and why I wasn't panicking about it, because for me, a point on the road is absolutely fine. And look, I know we didn't get one against Fulham, but that's what we set up for and what we were so close to doing. I think as Leeds fans, we could be very guilty of only ever taking it from a Leeds perspective. I mean, you see, it's a must win. I can see why people think it, but it's wrong. And I'll tell you why it's wrong. First of all, it's the 5th game of the season, right? We could have lost all 5 of them and still stay up. There's plenty more football to play. There's teams down the bottom there, like Villa in a far worse state than us.
Yeah.
No one thinks they're going down. So no one's going, it must win for Villa next week or they're going down. Like, that's just not happening. But yeah, back to the point about the Leeds lens. I didn't mean to actually do that pun. But yeah, when we put on our Leeds lens, we don't see other teams.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, it's a must win for Wolves. Like, if Wolves have any intention of putting up a fight this season, they got to be looking at home wins against newly promoted sides as a way of picking up 3 points. Yeah. So if we stop them getting 3 points, we pick up a point, then that's a very good point. Now, saying that, it is the opportunity. They're bottom of the league. They're in trouble. It's 100% an opportunity for us to assert ourselves in a more aggressive and dynamic way away from home that we couldn't probably do against any other established Premier League team. And because I think we're going to have 2 different styles. I think we're going to be much more on the front foot at home and much more low block in the away matches. But I think this is actually an opportunity to get on the front foot against a team like Wolves. Without giving too much away, particularly in the early stages, I think you'll see that trepidation, maybe first 20 minutes, keep it tight, and then we'll start to try and progress into the game and pin them back a bit more. So yeah, I think an opportunity for 3 points, but definitely not a must win. And I would actually genuinely take a draw because it stops them getting 3 points.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. Dylan, what about you? If you look, we want 3 points, don't we? And look, I think I agree with Darragh 100%. It is probably the biggest opportunity that we have of getting 3 points tomorrow. But if you got a point on the road, it's not bad, is it?
Away from home isn't our strongest point. We can clearly see that. Especially going back last season. Ellen Road is the fortress. It's 12 man behind the team. Obviously, the away fans are loud and proud. Don't get me wrong, but it's to the players as well there. And we said it last season, different horses for different courses. We bring Screwwave in. Probably won't happen because Ampadu seems to be okay now. He'll be back in, but you need to kind of change the side up a little bit to suit away from home, if that makes sense. To try something different in the sense of, for example, let's score goals, because that's something that we need to do. But yeah, I agree with Darragh. To be fair, I think the aggressive approach is the right way to go about it. But I wouldn't be I think a point would be alright. I take it. It's the Premier League, lads. We're not there yet. We're not an established Premier League team yet. We're newly promoted, new owners. We had probably a 7 or 8 out of 10 in the transfer window. We just need to keep taking over. But don't get me wrong, if we get to all the 3 points, get out of there as quick as possible, then it's a great way of looking at it. So, but with Wolves, the state that they're in at the minute, I agree with that. It's the time to kind of just take over. And then as I gone back to what I said about these month of games that have been coming, you could say the easiest of the run of games that's in it. Now's the time to start just taking away at them few points, even if it is a point, just to kind of get us up the league a little bit more. Give us that bit of security and no meltdowns.
And 2 back-to-back home fixtures, tough ones as well. Darragh, Bournemouth in the next, and who, notoriously aren't known as a big club, but they're very much an established Premier League club now. And then you Spurs at home as well. So, as you said, if we can kind of go there and get the win, then you have 2 tough games at home as well. So, maybe does it from Farke's side of things? Does he need to go there and get the win, and maybe relieve a little bit of the pressure going into 2 tough home games?
No, I think it'd be nice to do, not a need to do. I agree with Dillo. It's a point on the road at any point in the Premier League against an established Premier League team is a good point. And sometimes you can keep ticking over. Quite honestly, if we were to get a point against Wolves, a draw against Bournemouth, and a draw against Spurs, that wouldn't be the end of the world. Wouldn't be great. And I'm sure it'd be really boring, because there'd likely to be 0-0s or 1-0s, and it'd be really boring. And I can see a scenario where we beat Wolves, we beat Bournemouth, and we lose to Spurs. That's kind of the scenario I've got playing out in my head at the moment. Although, never works out like that. So, who knows? Who knows?
Maybe Leeds to lose tomorrow, lose to Bournemouth and beat Spurs, wouldn't it?
Or lose all 3 of them, or win all 3. Who knows? But there is a scenario there, and particularly in our home games, we have every chance at Elland Road. We showed against Everton, we can absolutely dominate teams at Elland Road. So, long may that continue. And as long as we get our players back to Tanaka, will be back. He'll be a little bit sharper. He'll be a great option. I think one of the things nobody's mentioned actually since we lost Tanaka is he won the ball up high, whether it was an interception or a tackle, a good few times against Everton with his pressing and his movement. And that can be a big key to unlocking teams as well, particularly at Elland Road, where it's not a case of having even relied on your build-up play. It's just you win the ball high up and you spring into action. And if you add the likes of an Okafor into that, that's going to have a little bit more quality than what we've shown in that Everton game, then maybe that's one of the big avenues to getting goals.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think Tanaka as well has been a big miss, because I thought that game against Everton, I thought he was fantastic. But I agree with you, Darragh. I've been saying, I don't know what you're talking about, but I've been saying to Dylan and the lads that have watched Leeds Bros for the last while, is that I like the idea of Tanaka a little bit further forward. I know he can't do it defensively. His reading of the game and breaking down the play is fantastic, but I'd like to see him a little bit further forward. I think he could do it, because he definitely has an eye for a pass. He's an eye for a goal. We've seen him last season scoring a couple of cracker goals, a lovely little back heel as well. I remember him scoring as well. So he has got a bit of quality as well, Darren. I think personally, and I want both your thoughts on this one, is just with the lack of quality up front and the lack of creativity that we have, we're going to need goals from them midfielders, aren't we? So the likes of your Tanaka, Stack, or Ampadu, I don't think is much of a goal scorer, but they're going to have to start chipping in now as well, lads, aren't they? So look what you said, they're getting forward a little bit more on the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's 4 good players there, attacking players. And Gruev has shown he's done well. Other than the Arsenal game, he's done well defensively.
Yeah.
Now, when I say attacking with regards to Ampadu, you're right. Ampadu isn't a goal threat, but he is an assist threat. You remember that ball to Bamford and some of those high balls he plays in. So if a striker makes a good curved run, which I think that DCL is more than capable of doing, Ampadu can pick him out. And he's obviously very dangerous with a long throw. You know, he's up there with Rafinha for these long throws.
Stick him in right back.
You bet you could do a job there. Fairness as well. But yeah, no, you're right. We need some goals. What will be interesting would be Anton Stack. I don't put into the criticism of Stack. I think he had a slightly quieter game, and he obviously looked brilliant against Everton. But I think he looked pretty well and pretty decent in most games. But it's not about criticisms. Like, we've got 4 players there to rotate. I do think Gruev's a little bit down the pecking order, so I apologise for keep leaving him out. But between, actually, it's not even 4 players. It's 3, because Ampadu's going to play. Like, we all know, Ampadu's going to play every single game, and rightly so. I think what he brings to that team is more than just his own ability. I think he lifts everybody on that team. So he has to play. And then it's 2 between Longstaff, who I'm a huge fan of, Tanaka, who I'm a huge fan of, and Stack, who I'm a huge fan of. So rotate the 3 of those. Maybe away from home, it's Longstaff and Stack, keep it nice and tight. Bring on Tanaka. Maybe at home, it's Tanaka and Longstaff. Let's Stack have a little rest every now and again, rotate around. But that midfield has to start chipping in with goals, and they all absolutely can. We've seen Stack has a good shot on him. Longstaff hit the crossbar the other day, and we know Tanaka. Some of the qualities, even those little chipped balls he was putting into the box a few times last season, Tanaka, like he just has a quality about him that the rest of our players don't have on the ball. He's a really great player to watch. I really enjoy watching him.
Yeah, me too.
But he definitely has that ability to open up a few teams for us.
Yeah, I think Darragh's spot on there. Dylan, what are you thinking, obviously, from midfield? Obviously, missing that creativity going forward. The midfielders need to get a few more goals.
When I think of Leeds and midfielders to score, I just think of Mateus Click, if I'm being honest with you. And then that's something, or even a Pablo Hernandez kind of narrative. We're missing that kind of creativity player to just get the ball, run up the pitch, skin a few players, make a nice pass, and put it in the back of the net. And at times when I look at it, especially going back to last season, and I know Tanaka did score 1 or 2, and obviously the back heel that you mentioned. I would say, I'm not looking for an absolute screamer to get into the top corner. I'm looking at it, like, even if, say, Tanaka has a shot outside the box, hits off someone's arse and goes in the back of the net. That's all I'm looking for. And you kind of want that. And you hear it week in, week out, lads. I think, we can all agree, there'll be a game, you'll hear the fans, the ball will come at the edge of the box, and every fan is screaming, shoot, and then they just lay it off. And that's something I'm missing about, especially in this Leeds side and in football in general. It's like they're afraid or they're conserved or they've been told by the manager not to have a pop. Just good quality there, as Darragh said there. Stack's not afraid to have a shot. Longstaff did hit the crossbar. And Tanaka, we seen it last season, he had a few shots as well. So with the lack of shooting up front, whether it is the wingers or whether it is the 9 or if we did have a 10, it's starting to get very frustrating. And I'm not trying to put a Debbie Downer on the situation, but we haven't scored from open play, we've scored from a penalty. So if it means having to bring these midfielders into the game, integrate them into the sense of we need more goals from midfield, I'm all for it. I'm all over it. I completely agree, because that's where we're going to have to get the goals. And, if it falls to DCL or Nemecha or Pirro, is what it is. So, yeah, 100%. I think midfield needs to chip in a bit more.
Yeah.
That's actually a very good point, Dylan. We saw plenty of Premier League midfielders, and I hate to talk about them, but Fat Frank made a career from just shooting outside the box.
In my head, yeah.
Some of them went straight in, some of them went straight over the bar, a lot of them got deflected. A lot of them were deflections in, and sometimes it just hit the keeper and bounced to, as you just said, one of the strikers, a Peru or a DCL or a Nemecha. Just take the shot. Take the shot and be brave enough to take the shot. Like Michael Owen throwing an apple into a bin that was in the sitting room for whatever reason. You have a bin in your sitting room, Michael Owen, but he was so brave to throw that apple. He had the courage to miss, apparently, when he was 6, throwing apples in the bins. What a plonker that chap is.
Well, he did a recent one there with Rio Ferdinand, and it was literally stroked my ego. I don't know if anyone's watched it, but when he gets to meet Rio or something, but it came up as, the suggested one. So stick it on, say, let's see what shite they're talking on. It's just Rio Ferdinand sitting there stroking Michael Owen. He's the best, youngest player ever to play football at his age, and they have the Ballon d'Or out, and they're looking at it, and it's just like, oh, lads, I think I watched 10 minutes. I was like, right, that's enough. That's enough of that for me. I'm done. But go check it out. There is HMS. I don't know if you've seen them, lads. HMS something Oh, but he's brilliant. But he basically calls out ex-footballers for basically talking shite, basically. So they'll tell stories, obviously making themselves out. That they were the best players ever. And he'd be like, "Well, at that time frame, he wasn't here, and this didn't happen." But he's brilliant. If you can, go check it out. But we move on, lads, and let's obviously talk about the wing positions. We did touch a small bit on Brendan Aronson. Now, obviously, look at tomorrow. We know Dan James is a major doubt with the core injury. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. Willie Nanto struggling with a calf injury. He's meant to be a doubt as well, but does he is in the training video, but we'll have to see. For you, lads, does Brendan Aronson start in the right wing tomorrow? Does he change it up and go a little bit more attacking in Jack Harrison?
Dylan, you want to go first?
Yeah, sorry, I want to see what you say first, Darragh. But yeah, no, 100%. I think Aronson. I don't want him here. I'm sorry, lads. I just have to be honest with you. You bring him on for the last 10 minutes just to kind of chase the ball like a little Jack Russell. You bring out on the beach, on a Saturday afternoon. Jack Harrison, if we kept him here for that reason, and didn't, let Ramazani go, for example, or got another winger in, I'd say fair enough. But Brendan Aronson isn't the answer. Last season he played in the 10 role. Now he's playing in the wing. We've seen him also playing up front. Where does he play? At this rate, just put Melier on the wing. If that's the way it's going to go, because it's just, the man's everywhere. But he's not doing anything. Look, no disrespect, I agree with Darragh. It's not a personal thing. It's just simply as a footballer. Darragh, me and you've talked about it numerous times off camera of the dislikeness of Aronson as a footballer. Let's be honest with you. And I think Harrison would be the one. He has to step up now and a bit more growth in him, a bit more experience, obviously with last season with Everton, 2 seasons with Everton. Aronson, no, not for me. I'm sorry.
What about you, Darragh? Where are you sitting with the Aronson one?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I don't think there's any place for Aronson in that team tomorrow.
He's going to start, though, lads. He's going to start.
I don't know. What about Nanto? Let's say Nanto on the right.
He's...
I don't know. Like he's saying
50-50.
Yeah, he's saying he's a doubt.
Oh, right.
With a calf injury. So I don't think Nanto comes in, and for some reason I think it'll be the same team against Fulham because they did all right. So I think we might see Aronson out there to give us a little bit more. I'm not too sure what he thinks of Harrison out on the right hand side, but who knows, because I think Okafor is going to be out on the left. So I think for me, I think it'd be more or less unchanged.
I wouldn't mind seeing Okafor on the right. I know he doesn't want to play there. He's come out and stated he's a right winger. But just purely horses for courses. If it's a choice between Aronson and literally anyone else, I think we should pick anyone else.
Unless.
Yeah, is he fit enough though? Can he run around? I wouldn't mind it because I actually like Jack Harrison on the left, particularly if you've got a big striker in the middle, because this whole thing is getting down and putting in crosses. Like Everton said, he was useless for them. Yeah, because you played him on the right side, and that's not what he does. He doesn't cut in and take shots. He's never been that kind of Somerville style player on the other side. He's been a more orthodox left winger, get down the line and put in crosses. And to be honest, I think he's knocking on the door of a start as well. He's actually been playing pretty well when he's come on.
Yeah.
He's been showing a threat. He linked up with DCL really well. That little chip ball into a foot. I mean, we had Jer on LeedsThat for that, and it was just 2 inches was probably the difference of missing that ball. Like you just, know, from a coaching perspective as a player, just how you trap a ball. It was just a little bit too far in front of him, and that would have been a great opportunity. So I'd love to see Okafor and Harrison. I don't think I will see that.
Yeah.
Hopefully Nanto can get a start if he's fit enough.
Hopefully, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to see Aronson, but you're right. If the lads are injured, he's probably going to have to play.
But like with Aronson, you do see people, that he gives us this press, and you have said it there, and I'm not putting you down when I say this. I know he brings the press to the game, but then going back to the Fulham game, it's bouncing off him. You can't get control of it.
No, it's gone. It's 2 different sides of the game, Dylan. When we haven't got it, he does do his defensive duty. He works as hard. We've heard all this. I think that's a minimum as a footballer. But it's when he has it and what we need going forward as a right winger. Predominantly, your job should be attacking, getting us up the pitch, and being creative. And for me, he just doesn't have it. I don't think he's ever had it.
Yeah, Wolves should not be the game where we are so up against it that Brendan Aronson needs to play. So that's my whole thing. Like there will be games where he's not bad for playing, and it does come down if Dan James is injured. I think Dan James is a big loss. I think it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said he was the best defensive winger in the world at one point, when he had him at Scum. I'm a huge Dan James fan, so I'll put my cards on the table there. I don't think he's been fit this season. I haven't seen him sprint. before the Fulham game. He never sprinted once, like at full Dan James speed before that Fulham game. And when someone as quick as him is not doing that, there's something wrong. And I think back to the Oxford game. Remember the Oxford game? And he had a chance to run the length of the pitch. There was no one in front of him, and he walked and passed it off. And I went, something wrong here. And he was injured, and he didn't play again for the rest of the season. You can spot it with Dan James a mile away. He gave it proper socks against Fulham and looked back to himself. Like that one where he burst through, they had to take him down. If they don't take him down there, every chance that he sets up, or he gets a goal opportunity anyway. So I think he's a big loss. But as I say, I think Jack Harrison's knocking on the door, but I don't think you can drop Okafor after that performance against Fulham. He did look the most likely to get us a goal.
Yeah, I would agree. And then the centre forward position, I think we're probably all agreeing. I think Calvert-Lewin needs another crack. I thought he was okay against Fulham. He had the one header that was straight at the keeper where he could have possibly guided it a little bit more. But he's in that position, lads. We said it about Bamford for years. He needs to be in that position to score them goals. Is it Calvert-Lewin tomorrow?
Did you see Haaland's goal last night?
Yeah.
The header.
Yeah.
I was actually reminded of DCL and that. I thought there's no way DCL scores that. You know what I mean? Like just that quick look. Where's the keeper? What do I have to do with this to get it to goal? And he just looped it kind of into the corner. Like that's what the best finishers do. DCL clearly doesn't have that. But I am a believer in the position thing. Keep getting in the right positions. You might not score loads of goals. Like I don't think he'll ever be a 20 goal a season, 30 goal a season striker. But can he get 10 just from being in the right position and missing 50, but he gets 10? Probably, probably. In fairness, there was some better players who've done that in the past. Like people seem to forget about Robbie Keane, as great as he was, and a good talent man like myself. But Robbie Keane missed his fair share of sitters. I mean, that's why he got bombed out of Liverpool. I never forget the one he missed on the line. He went through.
Yeah.
Remember that one? He came in on the left and he completely missed the ball. Like it was an open goal. And he's a cracking player, like a world-class player, and even he missed a load of chances. So there is merit to it. You can, if you miss 50, you'd be a score 10, you'll be okay. Yeah,
especially in this league swim, they're looking to stay up as well. Dilla, what about you, Calvert-Lewin tomorrow?
I think it writes for itself. I think Metch is kind of the one that holds up play, the bully on the ball. When he goals, I'm not saying Metch not going to score goals. I just feel like, as you said, DCL's the one that gets in the right areas. If he gets one, he's going to hit. That'll be it then. He'd be on the firing line. Or my man Pirro. But no, money best now. DCL for me. I think it's a no-brainer, lads. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Darragh, you might have a point though. Pirro might have a chance to have a part to play in this game.
This was going to be my next example, because we've seen it with Pirro last season, didn't we, at the start when Joseph was starting games, that Pirro was very much of a super sub coming on, and I think this is where Pirro could play a big part for Leeds United this season, is coming off the bench and getting us a couple of goals when we haven't. And if Calvert-Lewin can wear out the fences, and Pirro, we can see when he gets the opportunity in and around the box, he does score goals. It's getting him up there, isn't it, and giving him the chance to score with me for Pirro.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I'm a big fan of Pirro. I like Pirro. I don't think Metch is going to score, to be honest. I don't think Metch is a goal threat. I don't see him as a goal threat. Even though it's a couple of times in pre-season he had chances to shoot and he just pull it too far wide, or he'd shift the ball too far wide and then try and shoot from a strange angle. For me, he doesn't look like a goal threat. But I do think he's a good player. You can start him and let the ball stick to him and feed off him. I do think there's definitely merit in playing him. But for me, DCL up front and Peru to come on for the last 15-20 minutes. This could be the ideal game for that, because as we've said before, it's horses for courses. Away from home against the bottom of the league team, there's a different tactic to that than away from home against Aronson.
Just on Metch, lads, is it his brother that plays for Darragh? Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
Did you see the goal that he scored?
Yeah.
No.
I was just saying to myself, why can't Darragh Metch do that?
Darragh was moving his telly from one house to the other. He was walking down the road.
Telly only went up 2 hours ago. No telly.
Really, Darragh, if you can, go check Felix. Metcha, his name is. But go check it out. Crack and go for Dartmouth. I wish it was that Metcha that we got instead of the one that we have, because he looks like a right player. But lads, look, I think we'll leave it there. It's been a very, very insightful podcast. Really enjoyed it. Darragh, anything else to say before we wrap it up, buddy?
No, enjoyed it, lads. Thanks very much for having me. Love doing the Irish cast here today.
The Irish cast, absolutely love it. Dylan, anything else to say to all these lovely people before we wrap it up for our Friday night?
Happy Friday. We're going to go with predictions, are we?
Go on. Go for it. What are you thinking?
5. No, I'm missing. I'm gonna say. I'll say 2-1.
To Leeds.
Oh, 2-0. 2-0. 2-0 to Leeds. Yeah.
Darragh, what are you thinking?
I want to say 2-0 as well. I'll break it down for you. We'll get a goal, and then they'll be pushing on in the last few minutes trying to get the equaliser. I'm going to catch them on break.
Ooh, so 2-0. Love it. I'm going to go 1-0 Leeds. 1-0 Leeds. Nice early goal, and that's it then. We'll defend for our lives.
Wait and see. It'll be 6 or 7-0 now tomorrow. Watch.
But that is it from us, guys. Myself and Dylan will be back live at 2:30 tomorrow for the watch along. So make sure you pop in for that one. Hopefully, St. Leeds United pick up 3 points against Wolves. Darragh, what's going on over in LeedsThat?
Yeah, we're all good. We're back on Sunday night. We usually take a day to reflect, and then we come back in with some. We hope with some practical sense. So yeah, we'll be on Sunday night live at 8 o'clock halfway.
Maybe we should do that, Darren.
Yeah, I was just going to say that maybe we should take that on board as well. But that is it from Leeds Bros, guys. Thanks very much to everyone that popped in. Before you leave, please don't forget, drop a like on the video, and of course, hit subscribe to the channel if you're new here. So mind yourselves, mind each other. Catch you in the next one.